Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and today we are moving up the ladder of fifths to learn another major scale and corresponding arpeggio, D major. Let's start by checking in with what we've learned so far on the ladder of fifths. At the base of our ladder, we always begin with the key of C major with 0 sharps or flats. And C major has a relative minor key, A minor, which also has 0 sharps or flats. Moving up a fifth from C, we arrive at G major with 1 sharp and its relative E minor, also with 1 sharp. Today we're moving up another fifth from G, which brings us to D with 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Remember that every time we move up a fifth on the ladder, we add a sharp to the key signature. As you probably guessed, D major also has a relative minor, B minor. The relative minor is always a skip or a third below, and it has the same key signature. So B minor also has 2 sharps. This is our key signature for D major or B minor. So this is what you'll see at the start of any piece of music in the key of D major or B minor. It has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Let's check out the D major scale on the piano. Here are the notes of the D major scale. You'll recall that in a major scale, do, re, mi, fa, from mi to fa we have that half step there at the top of this tetrascale, and then sol, la, ti, do, we have another half step here. It's because of the placement of those half steps that we have to have that F sharp and C sharp to build our major scale. Now let's try to play that with our left hand. Go ahead and get your left hand in position. We'll use the same fingering we've used for our other major 1-octave scales. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And then to come down, we'll have 1, 2, 3. Thumb comes under. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'd like you to press pause and try that a couple times on your own using the left hand fingering. Don't forget the F sharp and C sharp. Try it out, press pause to do that, and then press play to go on. Great, now let's try it with the right hand. The right hand also uses the same fingering we've had for past 1-octave scales. We'll have 1, 2, 3 on F sharp, then finger 1 comes under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then to come down, we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 3 comes over to F sharp. So again, not forgetting those 2 sharps, press pause and try the right hand D major 1-octave scale. Then press play to go on. Now let's check out the arpeggio. Recall that the arpeggio is built on do, mi, so with an extra do on top. That makes a 1-octave major arpeggio. For the right hand, our finger will be 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 1. Remember to let your hand kind of comfortably shift from note to note as you play. You don't have to be touching all the keys at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay, press pause and try that a few times, then press play to go on. Now, in the left hand, for past arpeggios, our fingering has been 5, 4, 2, 1. In D major, because we have that sharp, 5 to 4 is a little bit too big of a stretch to be comfortable. So, the recommended fingering for the D major arpeggio is 5, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5, because of that sharp. If that was an F natural, we would use a finger 4, like in the D minor arpeggio, we would use 5, 4. The fingering for D major with the F sharp is 3, okay? So 5, 3, 2, 1 is your fingering. Go ahead and press pause and try the left hand D major arpeggio. Then press play to go on. As you're practicing scales and arpeggios or any kind of finger power exercise, it's always super important to have your best piano posture. Remember that as you play, you never want to see this kind of what I call hula fingers, where it's like bound or buckling in backwards like that. Make sure your finger joints stay firm enough. Should feel comfortable yet firm. So it doesn't do that. You want to keep the fingertips in this shape the whole time as you play. Also remember to position your bench far enough away from the piano that your elbows aren't jammed up against your body. Your elbow should be just slightly in front of your body so it can float freely and comfortably. Also remember your pinky should always play near its tip, not flat. And then last of all, make sure that your forearm is level and your wrist is level but flexible like this. If your bench is too low, your arm might look like this. So make sure that your bench is high enough so that you can have your very best posture. Last of all, remember that I recommend you practice scales and arpeggios with a metronome. By now, you should be somewhere in between a metronome speed of about 108 and as you can play it perfectly with no missed notes, with good piano posture, you can gradually speed that up till you're at about 138. I recommend doing each scale 2 times up and down, and then the arpeggio 2 times as well. Notice with the arpeggio, I did 2 clicks on every note, like a half note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And as you get better at those arpeggios, you can challenge yourself to try 1 note per click as well. Now, why do we take the time to learn all these scales and arpeggios? It's so we can make more music in more different possible keys. One very famous song in the key of D is called Pachelbel's Canon. You might have heard it before. And then later on it's like, now, what we're going to do today for fun is to improvise over the chord progression that Pachelbel's Canon uses. So I'm going to play some chords that come straight from Pachelbel's Canon. This is what I'll play, and I'd like you to improvise a melody using the D major scale. Now, if you play a note and you don't like how it sounds with the chord that I'm doing, like let's say I'm playing this chord and you play this note and that doesn't quite sound right to you, just step up or down and you'll usually land on a note that does sound good. So there can be like some tension, sometimes with a note that might sound like a wrong note, but you can turn it into a right note by just resolving it to the next note. Music is always filled with those kind of tensions. So don't ever feel like a note you played was a wrong note. Just move it to the next note, and then it will be like, you know, you had a moment of tension that then resolves. Like if I play this chord, and you play that note, then it can step up, and suddenly it sounds right. It can all become part of the melody. So, again, don't just stay in a pentascale. Now that you know how to do a full octave scale, break out of just that 5-finger position. You can go up, and if you get bored there, you can go up even 1 octave higher, you can go 1 octave lower. Let's create some music together. Okay, so listen to the chords that I'm playing and make your notes fit in, both rhythmically and melodically. If you hear me getting louder and more exciting, you can make your notes get louder, stronger, and more exciting. And then at the end, let's finish with a D major arpeggio. My last chord will be a D major chord, and then you go. Let's end with something like that, with a D major arpeggio. But along the way, we're using the D major scale. Okay, so go ahead and get your hand ready. We're going to make some music together. Let's improvise in the key of D. You can start whenever you feel like it. Last chord. Nice work learning the D major scale and arpeggio today. I recommend that you practice this scale and arpeggio along with the other scales and arpeggios you've learned every day. Thanks for watching and happy practicing. Squawk, 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 squawk. Squeak, tweet, 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 What? I thought this was Pachelbel's canon.